everyone, I'm back. I'm finally back to it. Now I want to start off with saying a big thank you to everybody out there that has shown me so much love and support recently while I've been quite ill and I've not been able to get anything done. So obviously the videos aren't been getting done. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, look at my last video, that will explain everything. But while I'm not 100% yet, I am definitely probably about 50% there, and definitely well enough to start getting things done and getting back on top of life again. So we're back to doing videos and we're back to vlogs, and it's made me happy and it's helping in my recovery as well. This is a vlog that I wanted to do last week but obviously wasn't able, and basically me, my boyfriend, my boyfriend's kids and my boyfriend's dad all went to Yorkshire Wildlife Park together and had a really nice day out. It was lovely weather as well, so always nice when it's not raining in England, so always a bonus, and had a good day overall. Because we had a hyperactive 8-year-old and a nearly 6 foot tall 13-year-old, I didn't manage to get a load of filming done while we were around at the park. I only managed to get a few sort of like little bits that I've cut down into little snippets. The snippets from Yorkshire Wildlife Park I've had to cut the volume out of because obviously lots of other people around made it very noisy, so hopefully I can get my newfound technical wizardry on and do a voiceover for that bit so that it's not boring. After the video I'll be talking a bit about how accessible Yorkshire Wildlife Park is and some little tips and things to make it a little bit cheaper. Video, and then stay tuned for that afterwards. If you're somebody that has already been to Yorkshire Wildlife Park, let me know in the comments below whether you found it a positive or a negative experience and what you did like and didn't like about it. So it's about 7:15 now. I've been up since 6:20, which I didn't mean to be, but that's actually worked out great for me. As you can see, I'm stood around, I'm half ready, haven't brushed my hair yet, but we are taking the kids to Yorkshire Wildlife Park today. That's going to be lots of fun. My social hangover from the other day is going to be absolutely nothing compared with a day at the wildlife park with a 7-year-old, 8-year-old now, sorry, he's now 8, and a 6 foot tall teenager. So that is going to be fun. I'll try and do some filming. It's going to be a lot of B-roll, no kids in the video obviously, and this is another day in the life of let's see how it goes. See you in a bit. I don't know who was more excited that day, my other half or the 8-year-old when going into Yorkshire Wildlife Park. And I did manage to get, like I said, some little clips of some of the animals, some meerkats and some of the different monkeys as well, which I absolutely a big fan of monkeys. I was quite tired when I got back because obviously that was quite a full-on day, travelling there, having the kids, having to keep an eye on the kids as well, and then being sort of like one being hyperactive and one not being very well during the day out. I don't know whether it just didn't film properly, whether the battery ran out, whether the SD card was full, or whether I was that tired I just didn't press record properly, because that has been known to happen at times. Who knows, probably one of those, but it didn't end up filming, so I was exhausted at the end of the day. But it was a nice day, and it was nice spending time with the kids as well, because like I say, they're my partner's kids, they're not my kids, so I don't get to see them that often, so it is lovely getting to spend time with them both together. Right, now let's get into some more details about the park in particular and what it's like to actually visit. At the moment, because of all the social distancing and everything that's been going on, you do have to book a time slot, so you have to book online nowadays. You can't just kind of like rock up to the park, and depending on what time of day depends on whether you have to wait until your exact time or not. We booked quite an early time slot, I think it was something like 9:30, and we got there about 9 o'clock, maybe just after, and we were allowed in straight away because the park was quite empty. Some things don't open in the park until 10 o'clock. So we were allowed in early, which was good, and there was no queues, so we got right in, which is also a good thing with the 5 of us all together. The thing is though, this time slots thing that they're doing doesn't seem to be helping massively, because once it got to nearer lunchtime, or the nearer it got to lunchtime, the busier it became, and it did become quite crowded. I know that we went during the week, but we did also go during the summer holidays. No kids at school, even if it wasn't all the social distancing, it still would have been busy because no kids at school. We left about midday, early afternoon, and by that point it was impossible to socially distance around the majority of the park because there were so many people there, and everybody is roughly following the same route. Some areas, particularly where there's bridges, then become very narrow in comparison, so you can fit less people in that amount of space. They have, however, spaced out the benches that are outside that you can eat your foods on, so at least you've got the social distancing aspect there, so that was nice because it wasn't a crowded area for once. Masks aren't an issue as much because you're outside, you're not in an enclosed area, so you don't need them until you're going into the gift shop, so they're not that much of an issue. But if you're unable to wear masks at all, then it is safer to make sure you've got a sunflower lanyard on your person so you can put it on before going in the shops, so that they know that you can't wear a mask. Some people still wore masks around the park. It's a choice, so it's not enforced by the park itself. Now with the tickets, we did manage to save quite a bit of money. 5 of us go in, can become quite expensive, especially when 3 are adults as well. So my boyfriend's dad's ticket was the most expensive, my boyfriend's was the cheapest, and I'll tell you why. Because the 2 kids and me, because one kid is autistic, one kid's got ADHD, classes all 3 of us as disabled, so that was £6 off each of our tickets. That was a saving of £18 to start with. My boyfriend got in as a carer, so his ticket price was actually only £6. It was cheaper than the rest of us. He saved something like £13 off the prices. Because you're clicking on the disabled tickets, obviously you need to take some proof with you. So I took with me my diagnosis report, which I have a paper copy of, and I like to take that to things like this because just in case you are questioned about it, then you've got something to show. Otherwise anybody could click on the disabled tickets and pay less for them. And my boyfriend got e-tickets which he printed out. In the long run that was a great idea because he broke his phone on the way there, but that's a completely different story that we won't go into today. But that made going through the gates a much smoother task. I was able to just show each ticket at a time and scan it, making zero contact between staff and us. So is Yorkshire Wildlife Park actually accessible for disabled people? Yes and no. So let me go into more detail about this. For autistic people at the moment it is more accessible than it usually is. Because you've got the time slots and things like that, it is much smoother. There isn't the long queues to get in, even if you go a busier time. I think they're letting in less people, so you are less likely to be absolutely jam-packed into crowds, even though it can still get busy. Now, outside all of the sort of craziness that's happening at the moment, my best bet would be to actually contact the park. Now, I've contacted them before about something else, and they responded within a couple of days. So they do have a quick response time. I would contact them and find out when their quietest time of day is and when their typical quietest day is as well. If you're not going with children or you homeschool children, the best bet is also to go outside of school holiday times. But either way, you do have to expect that it is going to get busy quickly regardless. I don't know how quieter it would be during school term times. I imagine that would make a big difference. But while I was there by lunchtime, it was quite busy, it was quite noisy, and it was quite crowded. Luckily for me, I didn't notice it that much because I was more focused on looking after the kids more than anything. So I didn't quite notice around me as much how busy it was. The cafe facilities can get quite busy easily as well, so if you don't like to queue for a long time for food, or particularly if you're somebody that's diabetic, hypoglycemic and things like that, and you need to eat then and there, it would be a much better idea to take a packed lunch with you and plenty of drinks. Yorkshire Wildlife Park isn't the cheapest as well, and options are limited. I was very happy that because we took a packed lunch, I still wanted a bit of a treat, and the kids wanted ice cream as well. There was one stand in the whole park that actually sells a vegan type of ice cream that's pineapple flavoured, so I was very happy. But the typical cost of it is £3.50 just for one ice cream. It's not small by any means, but to me, especially because I'm from Yorkshire, so I'm a bit tight with my money, £3.50 was a lot to spend. We went during August while they were having the half price food and drinks options, and Yorkshire Wildlife Park was taking part in that. So actually my ice cream was half price, so I was happy to pay £1.75 for it instead of £3.50. Now, in terms of other disabilities, wheelchair access is quite good. You can probably get round at least 90% of the park with wheelchair access. There are only a couple of areas also where you can't particularly get to because the only access is through stairs. So for example, where there is the jaguars, because the jaguars have things high up in the trees, they have an area you can go up to that is like a viewing point to view from higher up, and you can only get upstairs. But otherwise the paths are quite wide, everything is just paths and bridges, so you can get around the rest of the park quite easily. The eldest has hypermobility as well, and this was a bit of a factor in our day out. It means he can't do as much walking as the rest of us, and things start to hurt and ache and pain and start to set in. There was not many benches at all. They were very, very few and far between. So there was only actually a couple of times we managed to find a bench to sit down on. So it did mean quite often when he needed to take a break, it meant him having to sit on the floor of the side of a path because there was nowhere else to sit. So if you are somebody that suffers with things like hypermobility, or your mobility is limited, then you might want to take something like a fold-out chair to be able to sit on, or if you do use a wheelchair temporarily for things like this, it would be best to take that wheelchair with you. All the cafes and things like that as well, and eatery areas are all more towards the front of the park, so they're not spread out around the park, so you haven't even got those areas really to rely on to get a bit of a rest. And like I mentioned before, if you have a hidden disability, don't forget to take your sunflower lanyard. There are some perks that you can buy before attending as well. So there are a couple of meet the animal type experiences and some VIP experiences. But before you buy your ticket, check out all the details of those because it tells you any restrictions. So some of them don't have wheelchair access. For at least some of them you have to wear a mask, so if you're unable to wear a mask, it would be a waste of money if then they refuse you the experience. And with some of them at least, the price of admission to the park is included in what you pay, so you don't have to buy your admission tickets separately. I hope I've provided you with enough information for you to decide whether you want to go to Yorkshire Wildlife Park for a day out and enjoy it. It was my second trip there. It is somewhere that I do like to go, and my aim is I would love to sledge out, maybe even put it on my Christmas list, to have a meet the lemurs experience because I love monkeys. Lemurs are some of my favourite monkeys as well. And if you do decide to go, hopefully there's been enough tips and hints in this video so you can be a little bit prepared for any potential outcomes. But for now, I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now, guys.